Stay with us as we have another dynamic speaker coming up. And here she is, Danielle Benzon. Hi, Danielle.
Hello, Diane. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm so good. You're looking lovely. We're going to be talking about unlock the power of your voice, the key to confident, charismatic communication. That's really you, charismatic, great communicator. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Well, I trained as an actor for most of my life. I fell in love with the theater first. I trained as a classical actor for about 20 years. And that was my first love. And I really enjoyed that work. But as I got to a point where I had to start paying bills, I realized that I was really not in love with the industry. And so I kind of fell into coaching voice because it was the part of the acting work that I loved the most. And so I took my acting background, took everything that I knew from there. And I thought, most of these are just basic communication skills. Why are we not sharing this with the rest of the world? So that's kind of how I fell into this. But I was mostly working offline. I was based in Vancouver, BC. I'm still based there, but I'm traveling at the moment.
Yeah.
And when COVID hit, I thought, I'm going to take some time off and put my business online. And I'm so glad I did, because then my dad got ill and now I'm able to travel around the world and help my family out. So that's kind of what I'm doing now.
That's awesome. And you're such a loving daughter to do that. I know I've said that before, but I think that needs more acknowledgements because it is a hard, not a hard job, but it's one that's selfless. So.
It's a tough life. I live right by the ocean,
Well, you said you're a vocal coach.
Yes.
But what is a vocal coach? Because I think of singing. I think of maybe Toastmasters or something. But what does a vocal coach actually do?
Well, this is the thing. When most people hear that I'm a voice coach, they either think that I teach singing or they think that I'm very much like Toastmasters. And Toastmasters is wonderful, but it comes very much from a business background. And I come very much from the actor's background. As I said, I was a performer. So my approach is very visceral. It's very physical. It's based on the psychology of the human body, of human behavior. And so, I find a lot of, especially modern day, a lot of speakers, they only add speaking on right at the end of their process, and most of their process is writing. You don't become a good speaker by writing, you become a good speaker by speaking. And so my approach is much more physical. It's much more about understanding how the voice body instrument works, understanding how the breath affects the voice, understanding how your posture affects your voice, and how we communicate, what the psychology of communication is as human beings, why we tell stories, how we tell stories, all of those really exciting things. So that's where I come from. So it's quite different. It's unique in the way that the approach is structured.
Yeah, I didn't realize all of that. And then, I don't know if you noticed, but I changed my posture because I definitely was having bad posture there. So in your expert opinion then, because many people have different opinions, but not an expert opinion, what makes a really great speaker? What is it about them?
I think there's a big difference between a good speaker and a great speaker. A good speaker is heard. A good speaker has all the technique down. They're projecting, they're articulate, they're articulating, and their words are articulate, and they can be heard and seen easily. But a great speaker, I think, has three things. They have authenticity. They know who they are. They're comfortable in who they are. They're comfortable being seen. They know what they're good at. They know what they're not good at. And they're comfortable being human in front of people, because that's why we go to speakers. We don't go to speakers to absorb, boring data. I could read a book or, a paper for that. We go to speakers for the emotional element, for the life. And so they're comfortable being human and messy. So the first thing is authenticity. The second thing is presence. An excellent speaker is present on stage. They're there with their audience. They're in their body. They're not in their head. They're not judging themselves. They're not thinking about, I should have done this wrong, or remembering their script, or worrying about what their hair looks like. They're so focused on the present moment. And that brings us to the third thing, which is connection. They're focused on the connection with them and their audience. I could be a good speaker and just kind of lecture and just talk at people. But an excellent speaker listens to their audience at the same time. They're connected They're connected on 3 levels. They're connected to themselves. They're connected to their body and their breath. They're speaking fully with all of themselves. They're connected to their message. They understand what they're saying. They're passionate about it. And they're connected to their audience, and they're in service. They're not self-conscious. It's not about ego. It's about getting the message across. So that's what I think makes an excellent speaker. Yeah.
That's like the playbook there. But now I'm like, okay, do I have that? I don't know. How do I get that? But let's start with like, what stops people from being an excellent speaker?
You know, it's funny because the things that make you an excellent speaker are all the really deep things like presence and authenticity and connection. But a lot of the things that get in our way are the surface things. They're the self-consciousness, the self-conscious things that happen, these little habits that we've created for ourselves. A lot of the work that I do is based on the work of a lady named Kristen Linklater, and she wrote a book called Freeing the Natural Voice. And in the beginning of this book, she talks about the psychology of voice and how when we're born, we have these beautiful, expressive, powerful voices. Everyone knows exactly how we feel about things.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to worry about editing ourselves. But when we start socializing, especially when we start school, that's when we begin to develop habits that are actually sabotaging our communication. So we get punished for being expressive, you know, or we get laughed at or something, and we start to suppress ourselves. And we create these vocal habits like nasality or breathiness or having a very small voice and not being able to be loud anymore. You know, we create all these habits when we're very young as a defense mechanism, as a way of keeping ourselves safe. And then we only develop our sense of identity when we're in our teens or 20s these days. So we've been living with these habits for more than a decade, and we think that's who we are. And we don't realize how much power we have, how much control we have over our voices. And we think, well, that's just the way I am. I just hate my voice. I just have this annoying voice, or I just can't be loud because that's who I am. And that's what you're doing with your voice. And so there's all these surface level symptoms that come out, like breathiness, like nasality, like mumbling, all of those things. That's not what your voice is. That's something that you're doing with it. And I think a lot of things that get in the way are those symptoms.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking primarily about the voice, but really there's 3 levels of communication. There's our word choice, the actual words that we're using.
Yes.
There's our body language, and there's our vocal tone. And what really gets in the way of us being present and authentic with people is when there's a mismatch between those 3 things. So for example, I think most of us are very, very familiar with the idea of asking someone how they're doing, and they say, I'm fine. We know they're not fine.
Yeah.
There's a mismatch there. And that mismatch is usually intentional. So it's okay. But there's so many mismatches that aren't intentional that happen because of these bad habits that we've picked up. And so we need to think of our communication as being on 3 levels. So word choice, especially women. We have so many apologetic words that we use. You know, I'm just going to ask you about this instead of what is this, you know? And we have all these ways of cushioning and apologizing and kind of trying not to take up space, even with our words that we choose. And so becoming very conscious of, do I need that there? Even, you know, writing emails and things. It's so built into our culture that we don't even realize we're doing it. There's so much apology that happens. And so choosing fewer words so that we can be more powerful in what we're saying. We don't want to distance ourselves from our message. We don't want to dilute our message, and we don't want to apologize for it. There is this, you know, I mean, in conversation, yes, of course, sometimes you want to distance yourself from something if you're trying to de-escalate like an argument or something. But in my opinion, I feel sometimes maybe, but not when you're on stage, not when you're speaking. Then you want to own it. You want to own your message. So there's that. There's word choice.
Yes.
Then there's body language, and you just oh, where's my posture?
I really have to work on it.
And we all do. We all sit at
reminding
computers all day. It's my posture used to be a lot better when I was a dancer. But so there's body language, which includes posture, but it also includes gestures and that kind of thing. You see a lot of speakers who are very intellectual speakers. And so they think of their body as just this vehicle to move their head around. It's a vehicle for my brain. And they get up on stage and they're shifting from one foot to the other, or they're pacing nervously. And that's not going to inspire confidence in people. And it's not going to make you feel confident. Body psychology, especially when it comes to things like body language, is extremely logical. So if you think about it, a confident person, someone that we want to trust, someone you want to show people that you're confident, that you're trustworthy, that you're balanced. So be balanced on both feet, be strong, be, stable in the way that you stand. We even use those same words for personality traits as we do for physicality: stable, balanced. We use these words. So think about what your body language is doing. Am I unbalanced? Am I uncertain in my posture? And that's going to translate to people thinking, I don't believe what I'm saying, or, that I'm an imposter somehow. And it might just be nerves. It might just be extra energy, but I got to be aware of that. And so grounding yourself instead, and gestures. I don't know how many people here have issues with what to do with their hands. I don't know, Diana, have you ever had speakers be like, what do I do with my hands? I don't know. What do these things do?
What I've seen actually is people doing too much, repetitive, or nothing. Right? They'll do this. And I hate when we're on video, and they're doing like this. I actually take my hand on my phone and I cover, because it's so distracting. I want the message, but their hands are yelling at me almost. So share more about this.
Yeah, so exactly. So many people don't know what to do with their hands, and that's a disconnection. You should be speaking with your whole body. And if you think of it that way, like your entire body is your communication tool, your hands are going to be congruent, your gestures are going to be congruent with the way that you speak. If you're fiddling like this while you're speaking, this is not congruent with my vocal tone or my words, right? So it shows a disconnection between my body and my breath and my brain. So we want to bring them all together. So that's body language. And then the third one, of course, is my favorite, which is vocal tone. And there is so much information in our vocal tone. There's pitch as well. So tone, I've kind of talked a little bit about kind of nasality and breathiness, and that can really show, like if I'm really breathy, maybe I'm got a kind of flighty personality. If I'm really nasal, maybe I'm really controlling. You can even hear control in someone's voice when they're just speaking, and there's nothing really wrong with what they're saying, but you can just hear the tension in their voice, and you can hear them and they're clear, but there's just so much tension in their voice, you just don't trust them, as opposed to someone who's more relaxed when they're speaking. So vocally, we need to be aware of what we're putting across. The two main ones that I want to address for women specifically are upspeak, which is when everything is a question. Hi, my name is Danielle. I'm a voice coach. I've been doing this for more than 10 years. I'm an expert. I know what I'm saying. And it's just, why is everything a question? And it shows a lack of self-belief. It shows a lack of, self-confidence, really, and or a need for validation. It's like, am I right? Or do you like me? That's kind of what's coming across in upspeak. And upspeak is insidious because it's contagious. Sometimes it comes from a feeling of insecurity, and sometimes it comes from imposter syndrome, but sometimes you just pick it up from your friends. And you have to be really aware, especially people in North America, especially females in North America, have to be very aware of that upspeak, because it totally undermines your authority straight away. And then the other thing that really undermines your authority as a woman, we've been socialized to think of youth and kind of helplessness as something that is attractive. And so there's all these CEOs who have these small girlish voices, and they're wondering why they're not being taken seriously, even if they're not using upspeak. I talk in the boardroom and no one listens, and then someone else says exactly the same thing, but because he's a guy, everyone listens. And it's not necessarily a gender thing. It's because you've made yourself childlike. You've held on to this childlike voice. So the mechanisms of what is going on there is you're making your mouth smaller, and you're up pitching. You're using a higher pitch in general. You're not connecting to your body. And so being aware of, I'm an adult now. I want to use my adult voice, and people will take me more seriously. So there's a tone. It's not just melody, but there's also the pitch and the tone of the voice. There's so much to it, but those
there
are
is, yeah,
things.
there is. So the words and your body language, and then the tone, plus everything you were already saying about being present, conscious about everything. There's a lot, right? There is a lot, and a lot to think about at the same time, right? It's like driving. It's like this to be safe, or here in this case to do a good job. So what is something that that people can just start with to build some better speaking habits?
And this comes back to the idea that it's all the surface level things that we are focusing on. So it gets overwhelming. There's so much, as body language and my vocal tone and this and that and everything. Those are all symptoms of us not being connected, of us not being in alignment with ourselves. And so first, start from the inside and work out. Don't start from the outside and work in. You will get overwhelmed. You're just going to start counting your ums and ahs, and just, it's just going to make it worse because you're going to get more in your head. So instead, start from the inside. How can I connect to myself? How can I connect to my body and my message and my audience? And most of your bad habits will disappear. And then you've got one or two bad habits, and you can work on those, the really stubborn ones that stick. Then they'll be easier to work on. But start on the inside. Start with, how can I show up in this, on those three levels, in my words, in my tone, and in my body, but just being transparent and authentic. Start there. And then most of it'll take care of itself.
Yeah. So that's a really good first step before you can, delve into all the other pieces first. Yeah. Now, I've had moments, and I'm sure people listening have too. Please tell me that you have as well. I get nervous sometimes before speaking, even though I'm a professional speaker, I'm paid to speak, or I have, it's my people, and my brain will blank out, and I'll just I can't calm myself. What can people do in that situation?
I get nervous. Not everyone, but most people get nervous, and it's not a bad thing. A lot of people, especially beginner speakers, think that nerves are something they have to get rid of.
Yeah.
Never lie about how you're feeling. So don't try and suppress your nerves. Don't try and pretend they're not there. Don't ignore them, because then they're just going to take over, and you're going to create that mismatch in your messaging. Yeah. Instead, allow yourself to feel the nerves, and remember that nerves are just energy. And so actually, in my gift, one of the things that my gift does is really help you absorb those nerves and harness them and use them, because we want energy as speakers. We want to have a lot of energy. You want to be exciting and alive, but sometimes there's so much energy, and that's kind of what it turns into nerves. There's so much energy, it runs away with you. So move around before you go on stage. Run on the spot for 30 seconds. Do something active. Don't try and suppress it. Don't sit there still going, the nerves will go away. Then you just create tension in your body. Move, wobble, skip, stretch. Just let your body absorb and burn up some of that energy, and then the rest of the energy will be there to support you on stage as long as you are grounded.
Yeah, that's awesome. Since you did mention your gift, why don't we drop that in to the chat right now? And it is my #1 secret exercise to unlock the power of your voice. Good for anyone who experiences nerves or a voice that is squeaky, soft, or wobbly under pressure. That's awesome. So good. Yeah. Anything else you want to share about the gift?
So when I'm talking about connecting to your body, connecting to your message, this is my favorite exercise for a reason. It connects your breath and your voice. It brings that natural power into your voice. It'll help you adjust your tone. If you're one of those people who has upspeak or a smaller voice, this exercise is good on so many levels. It fixes a lot of those superficial problems that we were talking about. Yeah. And it helps you feel confident. And it helps you feel confident, not just look confident, but feel confident and sound confident when you're speaking. And then it's a wonderful loop of, oh, I sound good, so now I feel good. And then it just keeps going.
Yeah. Awesome. So good. So I got a couple more questions for you. I'm curious about what's one piece of advice that you could give to our audience today? And it's funny, I'm asking for one piece, though you've given us already so many, but what's I guess this is the main thing that you want people to do. What would it be?
My main hope for you would be that when you're applying this information, measure yourself and listen to yourself. So much of this is logical. It's instinctive. Your body knows what it wants to do. Remember that most of your bad habits come from the way you've been conditioned, not from the way you were born, not from the way you naturally want to express yourself. Your body naturally wants to express itself in a certain way. So listen to yourself and measure yourself. Record yourself on a podcast, record yourself rehearsing in your living room, but record your entire body all the way down to your toes and pay attention. And you will learn so much just by bringing awareness, because so much of this it's logical, it's instinctive. You just need that outside eye. So record yourself, measure. And the 2 golden rules are: a healthy voice sounds good, and a healthy voice feels good. So just do what feels and sounds good. Follow that. If it hurts, don't do it. And that's really my main piece of advice.
Amazing. Amazing. Now I am going to ask you for your final message, but before that, audience, I have a job for you. What is one nugget that you've had from Danielle today? Pop it in the chat. What is something that you loved hearing about? And as a reward, we're going to also talk about the VIP gift, which I missed, because that's an amazing gift. And I want to make sure that we talk about that. So let's do the VIP gift and then your final message.
Yes. My VIP gift is 3 months for free in my speakers training portal. So I have an online library of all of my courses. Absolutely everything that I've ever done is on there. And you get 3 months for free access to all of that. But in addition to that, once a month, I have a speakers practice lab. So anyone who is part of the portal membership, so they have access to all of my programs, they also get to show up once a month with me and practice speaking and get feedback from me. So that's really fun.
Can I ask, what's the value of that? 3 months of membership with your courses and being able to come to your sessions?
Well, I mean, the value is thousands of dollars, but I charge $37 a month for it.
Okay. So that's like 150 bucks right there. Yeah. Wow. That's so generous. Thank you so much. So that's for our VIPs. We don't put a link to get that for VIPs. You will be sent a document with all the links to all of your special gifts. So if you guys want to upgrade to that, please do so. What is your final message to us, Danielle?
My final message is focus on your breath. If nothing else, feel your breath in your body every day, and it will change your whole life.
Amazing. So many good things here, Danielle. I'm so grateful that you came to talk about this. I'm going to have to rewatch this because I could not take notes because I was focusing on interviewing you, and there were so many good things. And I'm excited that I have VIP. So you might see me at your next session, because I know I have, even though I'm paid to speak and that I use my voice in my work, I know I have so much more that I can do to really master my voice. So I'm excited. We've got a lot of like, this is so helpful, and focus on your breath and connect from within. A healthy voice is a confident voice. Measure yourself, listen to yourself. So many great things. I'll let you check that out, Danielle. Thank you so much for being here. And what I'm really excited about too is that you're going to be interviewing many of our speakers. And the great thing is, not only do you show how to use a great voice, but you're also a really great listener and really supportive. So I know that all of our speakers are going to be in great hands. So thanks again.
Thank you so much, Diane.